And I think what bothers me the most is there's this untold rule that powder coaters are supposed to be, the low end, just feed them some breadcrumbs and throw them $1 and they'll do all your work for you for nothing. I don't know where that came from, and it may just be in my area, but I think the hardest thing I see other shops struggling with is knowing the value of their time.
Tennessee, famous for its firsts in early Americana, like Davy Crockett, railroad lines, aviation pioneers, and truffles. In walks a humble veteran with an idea as brilliant as the first train station built in his hometown, full of potential for industry. He shares how the necessity for innovation helped him bootstrap his company into one of the most impeccable brands today. He talks shop about what he would like to change in the industry and shares what drove him to start his own line of signature powders. For custom coaters, by a custom coater. Let's get ready to level up your powder coater game.
Welcome to episode 6. I'm Kim Scott, your host, and the other half of the powder coating duo Ross Coat. You are listening to the Powder Coater Podcast, where we interview influencers and industry and cover trending topics so powder coaters can effectively learn and grow their business. In this episode, we've got BLC in the house. Chee-hoo! Create one of the most impeccable brands in bespoke powder coating today. And unless you're hiding under your oven for too long, you know who I'm talking to, and I'm honored to speak with today, Victor Pate of Black Label Coatings. Welcome to the podcast, Victor.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you having me. Sorry, it's been a little bit of a struggle getting our schedules to line up. I know you guys are in the middle of the move, and we're staying covered up. I've been looking forward to get to talk to you for a while now.
Awesome. Well, Victor, before we get started talking about you, let's talk about where your shop's located and how long have you been powder coating?
We're located in Chuckey, Tennessee, which is in the mountains of Upper East Tennessee. We're pretty much out in the middle of nowhere, as most people would call it. We've been in business for 5.5, coming up on 6 years. January 1st of this coming year will be our 6th year anniversary. I've been into powder coating for about 13 or 14 years total.
Okay. And where can people find you online? What's your social media handles, website, stuff like that?
That's an easy one. At black_label_coatings. You type in BLC in a hashtag search on Instagram, we come up pretty quick. You can also find us at our powder website, our powder Instagram, black_label_powders. And we've got blacklabelpowders.com. It's our website. We've got another one, blacklabelcoatings.com. It's our main website.
Yeah. And I can't wait to talk about these powders a little later in the show, because I think what you've done is absolutely amazing. But talking about social media, you proudly post that you're veteran owned. So thank you for your service. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's not as heroic as I wanted, as most people would like to present it to be. I was a musician in my earlier life. I got a girl pregnant. My son came into this world, chopped all my hair off, joined the Army in search for the elusive benefits that one would need to have a child. Basically put my creativity on hold to raise a family and, do all that. And then later on in life, when it got a chance to once my son graduated high school, basically, I got a chance to strike out and try to fill that creative void that I had. The Army taught me everything, though, as far as being disciplined, self-resourceful, just not giving up. And I think that's some of the things you need as a business owner. It gets hard. You already know that. There's days you don't feel like getting out of bed. There's days you don't feel like going. There's days you don't feel like doing the prep 100%. But that's where I think we shine from other shops is no matter what the job is, we trust the process, and no matter what it is, we don't cut the corners.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely an ability, or not even an ability, but more of like a personality trait or a mantra that you have to abide by, or get in line with, because it's powder coating has its parts that are hard, and it's definitely a process of learning and everything. It's not something that you can just pick up easily. Now let's start a little bit. You gave us a little teaser on that. I mean, how did you get started? And talk me through it, because you said you started powder coating before you started the business. What compelled you to be a powder coater, and how did you get started?
Basically, it was just to fill a void. I had a local powder coat shop. There's a few industrial shops in the area, and there was only one shop that would take, small batch work. If you had a set of handlebars or a set of wheels, you could take in there and get powder coated. It was hit or miss on quality. It was hit or miss on price. You could take, the same parts there twice and get two different versions of black. The prices were never the same. As to what was quoted to you when you go to pick up, the price been jacked up 3 times what it was promised to you at. The quality was never the same. Sometimes it was good. Sometimes it was okay. Sometimes it was terrible. So after having a look into that world, and I started getting into, what all would take for me to be able to do my own parts. At the time I was racing motorcycles and wanted to, look the part, and I wanted everything to match and look good. And, basically there was no one in the area that could service, my needs. So basically I got into it for myself. I spent, the first few years ruining my own parts, and then I ruined my buddy's parts. And then after I got halfway decent, it, kind of took off. A friend of mine worked at a diesel shop about an hour from here, and he was having the same problems with the same powder coater that I originally had problems with. And he's like, "Man, you need to open up your business and just take off. I promise I'll keep you busy." So at the time, I was driving a truck, working 50, 60 hours a week, driving a truck, had good seniority, making great money, good benefits. Just wanted to do it just to kind of be able to help me purchase my toys and pay for my hobbies. And it slowly turned into a full-time job. It was never the intention. I remember very clearly going into it thinking, if I can just make my $400 payment each month, then I'll be flying. And next thing you know, my wife quit her job first. She started helping me. She was a nurse for a neurosurgeon in town. And she made good money, had good benefits, seniority, the whole 9 yards. She quit her job and was helping me do prep in the daytime, and we were shooting at night. And eventually just got to be the point where it was costing me more to go to work than it would if I'd have just stayed home. So our shop was in our basement, like a lot of people start out. I'm proud to say that. And I've got this idea in my head that when I hit the 10-year mark, I'm going to publish pictures from my original setup. Right now, it's still a little close to home. It's, some of it's embarrassing, but I'm a firm believer and you have to use what you have at your disposal. So we made every square inch of our house count. We just turned the whole house into basically a powder coat shop. So after we got to where my wife quit her job, and we quickly saw that, I still needed to be there, I went ahead and quit mine, and, we went full time. That was 4.5 years ago that we've been doing this full time, that I've been doing it full time. We quickly found that we needed more space. We started looking on the market for commercial property, and around here, commercial property is very hard to come by in my price range. So we just looked up and found this place that had a house and 2 shops out in the middle of nowhere. And the big shop had 3-phase power. So my idea going into this, after I learned from my basement shop, was you can't do prep in the same space that you're doing your powder application without having to spend a day or two of cleaning. And luckily for me, I've got a prep shop, and then I've got, the clean shop where the ovens and the powder booth are. So it was almost like this place was made for us, and it was meant, we bought it and we got here, and it's taken off ever since.
Wow. I mean, what a an incredible story, because you hit on so many of the same things that my husband and I have gone through. It's almost an identical story. And I'm wondering how many of the listeners out there have that same story, because we're, and I like that story because I think it helps bring it all together as a community, that we have similar hero journeys, or, similar journeys, that we can all figure out how we got together and got to this place. Everybody has that simple beginning, and I just love that. That was great. There is something deeper there. It's not just that you've started similar to a lot of other people. You have like outstanding reviews on Google business page. You have, your social media is off the hook. Everybody follows you, powder coaters and customers alike. I mean, there's something more magical there behind the scenes, and maybe it's your wife. I don't know. Who knows? There is something that you can do, or that you're bringing to the community, that is a higher level. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too woo-woo here, but what do you think sets you apart besides all these reviews and you're out,
Well, I'll be honest with you, absolutely nothing special about me as a person, other than the fact that when I'm interested in something, I become obsessed with it. And if I become obsessed with it, I completely submerge myself into it. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I don't have a lot of other interests, because everything takes 100% of my focus and my time. We keep both my wife and I, and it's just my wife and I, there's nobody else, we would like to have somebody else, but at the same time, I know that there's headaches to come along with that. I think honestly, it's just, we're not afraid to fail. We're not afraid to try. When I first got into this, everybody's like, well, you can't do this, can't do that. And I'm going, well, why can't you do that? Now, I've got a small background in painting, automotive painting, and I try to take those same concepts and apply them to powder. And I know that's not 100% always possible, and I get that. But there's a lot of things that we're doing that, when we started, people said you can't do. So it comes from, they say inventions or necessities are the mother of invention. So for us, it's everything we've done is just because we've got a problem in front of us, and we're trying to figure out how to work around it. My wife, she's incredible. She's my best friend. She's without her, I don't think the business would be where it is. She would love to have been on the podcast today, but she's a little on the shy side. She doesn't do well talking to people, and I understand that, but we're both like that. We're both kind of shut offs, on a Friday night. You don't find us in town. You don't find us in a bar. You find us in the shop. When we get into something, we completely turn our lives upside down for it. And that's what we did. I walked away from a really good job. She walked away from a really good job. We had a big house on a cul-de-sac and a nice subdivision, which is something I'd always wanted. We gave that up, bought this place out in the middle of nowhere. And, we're actually happier now than we've ever been.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a dynamic duo to do all this stuff. I'm not sure who does the social media, if it's you or her or any of the other digital stuff, like keeping up with, getting those Google reviews. Sometimes people offer them up and sometimes you have to ask for them. But 57 outstanding reviews is an incredible goal that you've achieved there, in my opinion. Because it all plays into your rankings and your brand and stuff. But speaking of brands, we recently had a brand survey that we sent out to other coders and in the industry, and I found this comment. There was a portion there where they got to pick or suggest who their favorite brands that they follow in the industry are. Some people named powder coater suppliers. Some people named other powder coaters, as who they think has a good brand or on social media or whatever. And so once they named it, then they were asked the question, why, what do you think they have, or why do you follow them? And this comment, I'm not going to say who it was from because I'd have to look back, but I highlighted this when the survey results came in because I found it fascinating, and the way that they said it so perfectly, I guess, and it might be shocking to you, I don't know, but they specifically said that they named you Black Label Coatings, and they said an extremely tidy facade, difficult to gauge their actual size. And I think you kind of just, I think you kind of just described ahead of time what this is. And I have to agree with him. I mean, when you're a powder coater and you're looking at other powder coaters on social media, yeah, you're looking at that rim or that color, but beyond that, you're looking at the background. You're looking at what kind of things are in the back of the shop and stuff like that. You're paying attention to the details, I guess, more so than maybe a customer or an average follower of yours. Do you have anything to say about that? I didn't mean to throw that out as like to get you off guard or anything, but I had to share that with you because I think it's indicative of your brand, but it's I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think it's great. Some of the best lessons I've learned from other powder coaters indirectly is looking in the background to see what's going on. I'm very cautious of what's in my backgrounds. I know sometimes I may let more go than I should, but it's for me, it boils down to, you don't have $1 million shop to do $1 million work. I'm a firm believer in that. You can have a small outfit like, we had when we first started, the first few years of the business was spent in a 650 square foot basement. And my presence online was, I presented my logo, my brand, and I presented the work. And most people always want to know about my picture booth where I take pictures. And to be honest, it goes back to what I was saying before, where, necessity is the mother of invention. We started posting some good quality work. And then we started getting calls from people going, hey man, your work's being used to sell product for another powder coater a mile down the road or 10 miles down the road or 2 states over. And I started noticing that, not everybody, but there's some shady people in the industry. So we wanted to make it as hard as possible for you to steal our background, for you to steal our work. So we made the entire background, and we still watermark our pictures. And it hasn't stopped everybody from stealing it and trying to pass it off as theirs, but that's slowed that down.
Right.
But for me, the main thing was there's 2 different types of powder coating. There's industrial and then there's custom. Well, industrial is just pretty much what it is. It's industrial. You crank 10,000 mailboxes through before lunch and, you've had a good day. For us, we don't do that. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. So we do things the hard way. We wanted, and the reason I named it Black Label Coatings, I remember when I was a young kid, my parents worked for the government. My dad got a job, State Department. And I remember after he got a couple of pay raises on him, he bought a really nice suit, and it was a Black Label suit from Ralph Lauren. I remember asking him, what's the deal with the Black Label? And he said, oh, this is just indicative of the highest quality that you can get. And then I started, as life went on and time went by, I started noticing other brands did the exact same thing. Like, you can buy a Mercedes. Yeah, that's badass. That's great. It's a very expensive car. Well, you can get an AMG Mercedes, or you can get the Black Edition, Black Label Edition. So there's several brands out there that share that same philosophy. But for us, we wanted to only do the very best work we could. We didn't care if we were going to make any money in it, because this was never supposed to be a business. This was just supposed to be a hobby for me to pay for my toys and help us, supplement the income. So it's one of those things that we started where if we do this, we're only going to do it one way, and that's the right way.
I love that. Yeah, I've never noticed that before about Black Label, but while you were talking, I was thinking, oh yeah, American Express has their black card, and that's supposed to be
Right.
the card and
Sure.
everything. Yeah, I've never known that before, and that's I mean, I think you see that in alcohol brands, you see it in I don't know, all kinds of brands actually. So I have to pay more attention to that. And I think you're right about, there is only so much you can do when you get to that level or you have that much notoriety on social media. It's you can slow it down. One of the most downloaded photos that we have, and I actually happened to be on Instagram when I saw someone I actually caught them in the act. They had just posted, I was following like the powder coating hashtag on Instagram, and going through pictures and seeing what other guys are doing and stuff. And I saw our photo on somebody else's post. I'm like, what is this? I didn't even understand it. And thank God the day that I took that picture, I did something similar. It wasn't as perfect as your picture, but it had we had a banner that's had our logo on it. And I actually that day, don't normally do this, but that day I put the banner behind the wheel. And it literally, like, the guy must have just cut and pasted it right into his, the picture and stuff. And thankfully I had that banner. I'm like, dude, you're using, and I totally busted him. And it's hilarious because they have like a gazillion followers, but they post rims and boobs, so no wonder they have like 25,000 or 50,000 followers by now. But anyways, I'm like, I totally busted him and he felt bad and he didn't take it down, but I'm like, well, at least tag me in the post, that's the least you can do if you're going to do that, Yeah. It's just what's going to happen when you are the way who you are,
People are funny, man. They really are. They'll try to take something from you and get credit for it. And that's fine. If you want to use a valve cover artist to sell your valve cover refinishings, that's fine. But just make sure that you're up to being able to do the job. Not what they were sold.
Yeah, it's going to bite them in the ass anyways, right? I mean, if they're not, they can't do the work that they're expected. I mean, that's just the nature of powder coating.
Yes. And that's one thing that really kills me. I get a lot of people that'll contact me and be like, hey, man, I love your work. I just bought a new booth, just bought a new oven. I've got this gun. I don't even know how to plug it up. How do you two-tone? I'm not telling you. It's a long way to get to that point, man. So just start with the basics. Well, I need to make money. I'm sorry, I can't help you. So we did it the other way. We did it where it wasn't a business. It was just a hobby. And it turned into a business. And I think it came natural at that point. And I try to explain to people every day that we learn something new literally every time we work. I take care of all the prep. I do all the social media. I do all the unfun stuff. My wife does all the shooting. I help some when it comes into the two-tone stuff. I'm more comfortable with some of it than she is. Again, she has her strengths. I have my strengths. And together, I feel like we're unstoppable at that point.
Yeah, I think having a partner in this business, whether it's your wife, girlfriend, or a buddy, is definitely how to make the most of, to be a one-man band is really, really difficult especially when you want to keep up with the social media or get that ranking online and stuff. Where people can actually discover you, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to speak over you. I'm the first person to tell you that my social media game has slipped a little bit, but we've just gotten so busy. And I used to be that guy that worried that my percentages were down and I need to do something about it. And then it finally just hit me one day, just do the work, put it out there as art. If you post once a day or once every 3 days, just put something good out there. And if people want you, they'll find you. I don't put the effort into it that some shops do. But to me, I don't like seeing 50 useless posts and then one good post with a set of wheels. I'm funny like that, I guess. But
no, that's just the nature of Instagram. There is a way to do it and a way not to do it. Hopefully going to cover that in a future episode that I'm planning for now. But I agree. And, it's okay to take a break from social media. I mean, we have recently, just because of, where we're at right now in the move. And it's okay. You can come back. Just know your brand and utilize the hashtags or share your story. And people will come back and follow you again or like your posts again. It's just, you just have to go with the flow. You can't be on it all 100% all the time. It's just insane to do that. It's not realistic.
I think some posts or shops put social media before they put their work, and that's something I never want to be accused of. I mean, we'll work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and be happy with it. But if we only post 2 or 3 times that week, it's just what it is. I don't feel comfortable not doing everything possible to make a job right. And I think that's where all our reviews come from. Anybody that's had work done here knows my schedule stays erect, mainly because if it's not perfect, it does not leave the shop. But I'm also that guy that my tattoo artist has a 1.5 year wait for me to get in to see him, and I'm cool with that. So my customers are now cool if we've got a 2-month wait or 4-month wait, or like this year for the first time, we're booked solid for the rest of the year. And we did that like the 3rd week of May, and that's never happened. I'm not sure what caused that. It just kind of happened, and we couldn't be happier with it. I know the coronavirus is really hampered or, dampened a lot of our new color releases, for black label powders. And we can get into that in a few minutes. But, honestly, it's been our best year for business. It's just been very difficult in navigating the waters that are there right now. But I feel like my customers know what they're waiting on, and they're cool with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some are doing okay and some are not. We took a hit for sure, just because, tourism and people demand for business, but it's coming back around for us. And I think a lot of people have some extra cash in their savings right now from unemployment. Maybe they're getting back to work now and they feel a little bit more comfortable spending that money. I'm not sure, but we've got quite a bit of rim jobs coming up the minute we open up, plus, the usual construction, gates and railings and stuff like that are, staying pretty busy. So
I'm a big fan of y'all's railings. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a big thing here, and I hope to make it more, get it out there more and stuff like that, because we really do like those jobs and they look great,
Especially that patina y'all have.
Yeah. Yeah, the patina powder coating is coming along, and hopefully we'll have some big announcements coming up in the next month here about what we're doing.
Great.
Getting some heat, getting some attention from some of the bigger multinational companies right now. So we'll see what the outcome is of those. Yeah. So let's get into the powder line. I'm excited about this. I called you. We were talking about patents. I think you had finally announced that you had this powder line. You mentioned you had a patent. Of course, we were at the moment of deciding whether or not we should do a patent. So that's when I first reached out to you months ago, and remember that call. And so tell me about this powder line. Why did you start it, and what makes these powders different?
Well, again, everything for us seems to go back to, necessity is the mother of invention. When we first started shooting, I grabbed all the cool colors I could find from prismatic powders and Columbia coatings and ordered them and got them in. And some of them were awesome. Some of them were great. And then the blacks were just not cool at all. It's not a real black. It's, we started noticing no matter what brand we ordered, it came in 2 different shades of black, a dirty gray black or a dirty brown black. I remember calling my powder rep at the time and having a long conversation with her and going, hey, what can we do to maybe change some of this? And she goes, oh, unless you want to do like a 10,000 pound order of a custom color, it's really not, much we can do for you. And I said, well, how do I go about doing this myself? And she goes, let me transfer you to the lab and let you talk to them. I think she was just tired of hearing me talk. So I got on the phone with the guy at the lab at one of my suppliers and started asking him a bunch of questions, and basically reading between the lines, I started making notes. And as he was talking, I would say, okay, so where can I buy that at? And he'd say, oh, well, you got to check this website and check this. And these people will sell you, they'll just ask for a sample, and a sample will be, 20 pounds of pigment. So I just started basically trying to come up with, trying to reinvent the wheel. The first color we did was our signature satin black. We did that where the industry standard on satin black falls anywhere between like 40 and 50% satin. We mix ours at a significantly higher rate. We like to think that extra gloss level fills the gap between traditional satin and gloss black. My hot rod customers absolutely love it. A, it's a single stage powder, and B, it's a lot easier to care for than gloss black. As you already know, gloss black's a nightmare. If you touch it, you scratch it, and there you go. So after we got the signature satin black done, we decided we wanted to focus on gloss black. So we started focusing on gloss black, and then we got that halfway done and we played with it. I think we had like 5 or 6 versions before we came up with actual murderous black. But it's basically just, I think it could be better. So we tried to make it better. And that's been our philosophy since day one. I mean, we want this to look as good as humanly possible. How can I do that? And without, reinventing the wheel and coming up with new formulas, there just wasn't many options out there. So that's what we were forced into.
Wow. I mean, and I love that murderous black. The word in itself is enough to get your attention, right?
It is.
I love the names of all your powders and stuff. And I mean, so are you saying because you're using a higher quality pigment, do you think is the application, I mean, I'm not a powder coater, so, but do you get better coverage, or is it just that you get the durability and, what is the finer line there?
So once we started having them produced for us, that did 2 things for us. Instead of spending 5 or 6 hours every Sunday afternoon trying to mix up a small batch of gloss black to last us the week, we basically took our tried and true formulas that we came up with, took our life savings and invested them into black label powders. And by going to talking to a lab and the different pigment manufacturers and saying, okay, what is the absolute best pigment you have for this? And going that route, there's so many levels to it that most manufacturers don't go past, just the basic necessity to get a black color. So we've tried to incorporate the very best ingredients, if you want to call them that, into these powders. And as a result, you get an actual true black. It is black as night. I hope my son's not listening, but I always like to say it's as black as my ex-wife's heart. So.
I love that. I think that's awesome. I mean, because you are the coder's coder. I mean, would you disagree with that? I mean, like, I think you're making powders for people like you that want and your customers that want the very best powders in the industry. And maybe it's a wake-up call, or maybe it's something, like people listening today probably didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know that till I talked to you that one day, and I was like, oh wow, I never considered that. So it must have taken you some time to put it all together. I know you were making the smaller batches and stuff, and you kind of mad science what you were doing on the weekends, making your own powders. I mean, what is the process? And you don't have to dive too deep into it, but what's the simple process? You called the chemist and you said, give me this, give me that.
In the beginning, yes, and then we ran into issues. There's a magical thing out there called a binder, which makes flake adhere to powder so that you can apply it. And without a binder, you're really not doing much good. That was the hardest thing for us to get access to. The way that my powder rep explained to me in the beginning, they don't make high-end powders because like 95% of the powder consumption is for industrial use. And if it's good enough now, then it'll be good enough tomorrow. And they had no interest in fixing a problem that wasn't there in their eyes. Custom shops, or as they like to call them, job shops, they fall on the back burner. What that guy needs, I'm not worried about that because he's only going to order at best maybe 500 pounds from me this year. And that's if he's doing good.
Right.
For a small shop like us in the beginning where we might have ran through 300 pounds a year, they didn't care what I had to say. They didn't care that I didn't like their black or their clear. So it really, they didn't see it as a problem. And I know we've stepped on some toes now, and that's fine. I'm proud of what we have. And I think the difference with us is we took our life savings, made this powder, and basically what it is, it saves us time on the back end now. And instead of having to prep to make the powder, it's already done. It's ready to go. Shows up boxed, and we shoot it, and we're good to go. I don't push it down people's throats. I don't post a whole lot about it. It's one of those things that's there if somebody wants it. I'm more of an artist than I'm a businessman. So I know I'm losing, revenue and all that. And I'm sure people are out there, jumping up and down right now at the sheer, sound of my voice saying those words, but it's not about the money. It's about the work. And for us, if we've got a product, it's there on the market, we may get into more advertising later on, but right now we're super comfortable with where we're at. We've got 11 new colors that we need to launch, but until the pandemic's over and our pigment supplier reopens, there's really not a whole lot we can do. So we're kind of tied right now. We got a bunch of color matches. We got one for Ken Diggett Designs going on that we still can't finish up because we just don't have access to the pigments.
Yeah, I've heard there is some disruption there. I hope to dig a little bit more into that when we have PCI on. They can maybe shed some light on that. But yeah, I've heard some people have had some issues getting the materials that they need to make their powders. So I imagine this story will unfold in the coming months. But I think it's just awesome, that what you've done and how innovative. And, you didn't start with what can I bring to the industry. You started with what can I bring better to my customers.
Right. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the biggest thing for me is the reason we try so hard is we live in a pretty small community, and I would say probably 60% of our business comes on the UPS truck, but that other 40% is people that live near and around me. And I love being able to look you in the eye and shake your hand and know that I gave you a kick-ass set of wheels. I've got customers, from back in the day that when we weren't even a business, they still, swing by the shop and go, hey, man, just wanted to show you, man, you still look just as good as the day you did it. And for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's an interesting story too, because like when my husband and I first started, or his thing was, I want to be the guy, you're the guy, give me the guy. I want that guy, the guy that does the powder coating right, or the best, or, and we're in a small area and stuff like that. So, when you're known as the guy, I think it's kind of making a statement that you've kind of arrived in as far as in and around your community, and making customers lifetime customers, right?
I'm very happy with where we are today, and I'm proud of how far we've come, but I'm not satisfied by any means. And I think that's another reason that keeps me up late at night, keeps my wife up late at night. We keep journals by both sides of the bed. I'll wake up and write some crazy idea down, and I'll read it the next morning when I get up. And 90% of the time, I'm not going to lie to you, it's all garbage. But there's, just a little bit of that where it's magic. And, we'll run. It happened last month, 2 months ago, maybe. We were on a job, and I kept trying this one finish. It was a set of Poison Spider Jeep fenders, and I could not get our heavy silver flake and our custom color match for Jeep's amble gray to work together well. my wife and I kicked these fenders around back and forth, tried 3 or 4 different things. I'm like, man, I don't know. And, it's like, well, this is as good as we've got so far. We'll see what the customer thinks. And he was supposed to come down the next morning or in a couple of days. And I called him that next morning and said, hey, man, lightning struck in the middle of the night. We've got a whole new idea. Give me a week and we'll see what happens. And went down the shop and knocked it out. And we could not have been happier. And it's just, I think that's the thing that excites me the most about powder coating is you can do the same thing every time, 10 times. But if you just make one slight adjustment, you can make leaps and bounds improvements or make it go the other way and make it look terrible. So I really get into that area of the process where the slightest thing makes a world of difference, even down to media that we blast with. We're 100% self-sufficient. We strip, blast, coat in-house. We don't rely on anyone else. That's another pet peeve of mine for new shops coming up that don't strip or blast. We get those, fly-by-night shops that pop up. They see us doing okay, and they think they can do it, and they last, a couple months because they don't. I could imagine not having the ability to strip and blast something if I needed to, because guess what? We've been doing this for a minute, and I still strip and blast on a regular basis. If we see something that's an imperfection that I can't live with, it's not leaving the shop.
Yeah, I know. I'm married to a man just like that, and
that's a curse and
yeah, it's a curse and a blessing. Exactly. And I get that passion. It makes it, makes life interesting. And, that, you're so sure, and even with things falling apart or making him a success, that, when that next powder coater tries to start up down the street or whatever, you've got nothing to worry about. You know who you are. And I think that really speaks, I don't know, to me, I feel like when I look at your brand, I feel it all the way down to my bones, and talking to you today just kind of reassures me that what you see is what you get. And I love that. I wish more brands could be bringing that to it's just take you. You're just doing you, Victor, and your wife is just doing her, and you're bringing it all out. You have to protect yourself. It's a social, it's a profile on the internet or whatever. But I think for the most, you've really struck a balance between your personal lives and your label.
Well, thank you. I'll be honest, we don't have a personal life. It's just all business. I'm like obsessed with it. That's all we do. Before the business, we rode 16,000 miles a year on motorcycles, each of us. My wife and I both have bikes. Since the business started, we rode just a little bit in the beginning, but once it took off, man, I think I started my bike one time last year. She rode it around the block for me. I haven't been on it in like 3 years. I just don't have time. My focus isn't there. If I've got free time to ride a bike, I've got free time to be working on a new color. And a lot of the colors, like our Nardo Gray with real blue pearl, I remember seeing a car in Baltimore, Maryland when I was a little kid, and the sun was hitting it just right. And it was this white, it was a white car that had a custom blue pearl paint job. And I fell in love with it. And I carried that image in my head with me my whole life going, man, I'd love to be able to recreate that. Just so happened, one of our diesel shops in Arkansas we do a lot of work with, he called me up and said, hey, man, I need this color. And he basically described it, except instead of being white, it was Nardo Gray. So we went to town on that, and that took us a long time to figure out. But I don't do anything but work. If it's not powder coated related, I'm not doing it. That's where my brain's at, and that's where it's been at for a while. And I think you almost need that when you're starting a new business. I think you need that when you're trying to build a brand. But like I said earlier, it's both a curse and a blessing.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we literally have had our heads down to the grindstone for the last 3 or 4 years since we got serious. We started the business in 2010, but we really didn't take it too seriously until 2015 when I got out of my industry and joined his business and his industry. So I hear you about just not looking up and just staying focused and stuff. So if you had, let's do some wrap up here. So if you had an extra $10,000 in your bank account for your business right now, what would you spend it on? Would you spend it on equipment, space, another patent? I mean,
sure. We've got one that we're working on right now that, and again, if this pandemic would free up, we could have already had it done. We're working on one product now that is not currently available anywhere on the market, and I don't want to give it out because I'd be cutting my own throat at that point. But we're hoping to have it wrapped up this year. But yeah, patents are expensive, trademarks are expensive, so definitely I'd take that for legal fees and help push the brand further.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to change in this industry, or do you see any? I mean, I kind of answered your own question, but do you see any change or trends changing in the industry? Maybe your powders are a response to that, you know?
I think the one thing that drives me crazy the most, we work with a lot of high-end shops and they'll have their customers either go on our website or one of the other powder suppliers' websites and look at colors. And we'll present, our customer, the retail shop, with a bill for the price, for the whole price for the project coming up. And the customer looks at it and goes, why is it $1,600? The powder's only $8.99 a pound. Why is it $1,600? And I think what bothers me the most is there's this untold rule that powder coaters are supposed to be, the low end, just feed them some breadcrumbs and throw them $1 and they'll do all your work for you for nothing. I don't know where that came from, and it may just be in my area, but I think the hardest thing I see other shops struggling with is knowing the value of their time. And I think that's why a lot of shops go under so fast, is they're spending 3 and 4 days on a project and they're not charging accordingly. So if I had any impact on the industry at all, would be just to raise awareness that what we do is very hard, very difficult, very time consuming, and it's long form work. You don't just go in and shake the gun at it and you're done. You spend a day on prep, you spend the day doing this. There's a lot of time that goes into doing what we do, and as you very well know, you have to trust the process. You can't cheat the process. And if you trust the process, you're going to spend some time and you're going to spend some money and you're going to have money wrapped up in equipment. People come in and want to, beat me up on a $400 $400 price set of wheels. And I've got $250,000 worth of equipment in both shops. And it's not the public's perception of what we do isn't accurate, I feel like.
Yeah, I couldn't, I mean, geez, it is true. And I think that actually comes from the industrialists, powder coaters, because, for them with the line coating and everything, it's like every part is just, because it's automated, it's all about the margin and it's all about the lower cost powder and stuff like that. And I imagine I agree with you. It's not just in your area. I think it's global, actually. I'm pretty sure people in all parts of the world are experiencing that too, and it is something that needs to be changed. It's a valid point. It's not something that, the way you just explained it is just so, yeah, that's exactly how it is. You explained it really well. And we covered a lot of that, what you were talking about as far as pricing in our just released episode on pricing. And it's been getting a lot of comments, and people have really appreciated this episode because it covers the value of who you are as a person. It's not just math, it's the confidence behind it, and stuff like that. So that is a very well said thing. And I think it's a great point to end with, because I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of you. So I'm definitely going to have you come back if you don't mind.
Right on.
Yeah, especially when you come out with that new that new one that new powder you're talking about and stuff. You're welcome to come back anytime.
It won't be a powder, but it'll be a shop. It will be something every shop in the U.S. needs and can use and has the needs for right now. They just may not realize it just yet.
Oh, wow. That makes it even more exciting. That's great. I love it. And I think innovation is definitely going to be a trend you're going to see, and it's not going to come from the industrialists because they're already built out. They've got everything they need in their line coating systems. I mean, they can always upgrade their equipment and, do something fangle with the way they hang it or the speed or the, whatever. Sure. But I think the major innovation is going to come from custom coaters like us.
I think so, but please don't get me wrong. I want no part of doing 10,000 mailboxes before lunch. What they've got going is what they've got going, and I'm happy for them. Please don't think I would want any part of what they do.
Yeah, don't mail you 10,000 mailboxes. Okay.
That's about it.
All right, Victor, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I am so happy that you've come on today. Now tell us again, you're on Instagram at Black Label Coatings with an S. What's your websites again?
blacklabelcoatings.com and blacklabelpowders.com. If you go to blacklabelcoatings.com, there's a link to the website for powders.
Awesome. And we can just order like online, right? We don't have to call you. You can just order online, whatever you need.
That's correct. No, ma'am. Yes. The reason, let me touch on this real quick. I know it's been a touchy subject for a few customers. In the professional world, it's very common if you've got a website that sells product, you can pull up the website and you can look at the products, but you're not going to have a price until you create an account and gain access to the pricing. The reason we did that is so that if I'm trying to help you with a customer and you call me up and say, hey, man, my customer's looking for this, but he's not really sure what color he wants, I'll say, hey, just have him check out my website. They'll be able to look at the colors, but there's not going to be any pricing. The pricing's for you, the custom shop. And that's what we did, custom powders designed by a custom shop for custom shops.
That's awesome. I get that. And yes, we've had a few customers come to us or, I don't know, either they're trying to save money. They think we're going to rip them off or whatever. I mean, we've got shipping, for us. I'm not sure. How do you ship? Just thought I'd ask in case I order some, because are you shipping UPS or USPS? How do we get your powders?
Right now, everything's done USPS. We've been talking with UPS to take over all of it so that we can have shipping to Canada and other countries. Right now, we will ship anywhere in the world. You just have to email me your powder label. We've got an order for Canada going out Monday, and we've got our first order going to Australia on Monday, and I'm super stoked about that.
That is, wow. Get that pin board out and start pinning up all the countries that you are selling to, just to milestone it. I think that's great.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier. But Kim, we really appreciate you having us on today.
Oh man, Victor, thank you so much. And please say hi to your lovely wife. What's her name? I won't even ask. I'll ask off what her name is. I'd love to meet her someday.
You can talk to her. Her name's Jennifer. You can find her on Instagram, JL Pate 85. So it's she just doesn't like talking on the phone very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thanks again for your supporting us, followers, and following the Powder Coating Podcast. I hope you've learned something today new to help you with your powder coating business. Please feel free to comment below, follow, share, and like the podcast. If you have a topic that you'd like to discuss, email us at info@MauiPowderworks. You can also, if you've got something to sell, you say you're coming out with a new product or, just hit us up too. We're interested in all kinds of things related to custom powder coating. Thanks again for joining the show.